In our Eye on Florida this morning, the number of anti-psychotic drug prescriptions written for children in Florida is down by 75%. The number has fallen dramatically since the state began requiring doctors to get approval before giving the powerful drugs. The antipsychotics were originally created to treat adult schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, but have been used in children with behavioral problems.
The number of antipsychotic drug prescriptions written for kids has plummeted since Florida health officials began requiring doctors get approval before giving the powerful drugs. According to the St. Petersburg Times, there were 75% fewer prescriptions written between May and December of 2008 compared to the same period a year earlier. The new rules went into effect last April, and the figures focus on kids under the age of 6.
We're learning that doctors are prescribing less antipsychotic drugs for children. According to the St. Petersburg Times, those prescriptions actually dropped 75% last year. New rules that were put into effect last April require doctors now to get approval before prescribing the powerful drugs.
It is a controversial subject that's garnering a lot of attention right now. The question is whether antipsychotic drugs should be prescribed to children. Main News 9's Al Rochelle sat down with Kris Hundley of the St. Pete Times to talk more about the subject.
Joining us now is Kris Hundley at the St. Pete Times, here to talk to us about prescribing antipsychotic drugs for kids. Kris, this is kind of a controversial subject, isn't it?
It certainly is. There's a lot of concern that maybe these drugs have been overprescribed, especially to children under the age of 6.
Now, why were they being given these in the first place?
They are very powerful sedatives, and as anyone who's had a fractious child knows, you can look for any reason to calm them down. They were being given to kids with ADHD, autism, and also kids who were just considered to have developmental disorders.
Now, last spring, things changed, at least as far as doctors were concerned, when it came to Medicare and Medicaid, didn't it?
Exactly. Medicaid children under the age of 6 are now required to have pre-approval before they get atypical antipsychotics.
Now, who do they have to get pre-approval from?
The state requires that the doctors submit the forms and get them prior approved by state pharmacists or a state psychiatrist.
And has that changed the process any, and what are we seeing?
Absolutely. I compared data from a year ago period to the current period and saw that prescriptions were down 75% once the prior approval process went into place.
And the only people we haven't brought into this process is, what do the doctors think of all this?
Well, about 200 doctors just decided that they could find alternative treatments, so they didn't even request the drugs anymore.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, right? Or is it a bad thing?
Well, I've heard mostly that it's considered a very good thing. Doctors and psychiatrists hope the children who need the drugs are still getting them, but the children who could have used less powerful drugs are no longer being prescribed these atypicals.
All right, to read more details from Kris Hundley's article, make sure you read the latest edition of the St. Petersburg Times. Kris, good talking to you.
Great. Thanks so much, Al.